Okay, and we're back for part 2 of water sampling procedures. So, getting back to a BACT sampling plan, there are 3 kinds of coliform samples: routine, that are representative of the water that people are drinking, and they are taken from a site that is shown on your coliform sampling plan. And in the Santa Rosa plan, those are the, if you look at the pages where there's all those addresses listed, those are where the sampling locations are, or near those addresses. The other type is a repeat sample, taking after notification of a positive routine sample, and then a special sample. They're taken for the system's own information, such as verifying if a sample tap is good or from a pipeline after construction, etc. They are not representative of water in the entire system, and they do not need to be reported to the Department of Public Health. So, the routine sampling minimum. This is, it lists basically the population, the number of service connections, and then the minimum number of samples, total coliform samples required. Now, sampling locations in the system. It is good to choose locations that are uniformly distributed and representative of different pressure zones and water sources. You should consider looped or branch systems, and locate your points also within separate pressure zones. Another good thing is to locate those points near source water entry, such as where the Sonoma County Water Agency connects with the City of Santa Rosa system. There are sampling points there. And then also to check pressures to make sure water is coming from the correct zone. Now, this is a picture of a dedicated sample station in Santa Rosa. You may have seen one like that on your travels, and you might have wondered what they are. Well, they are a dedicated system. They I'm not sure exactly what that first point is, but I will go to the second point. They are a direct tap to the water main. They are an accurate representation of the system at that point in the public right-of-way, and they are given that look and that case so that they would be uniform and they would be secure like that. And let's compare that to this, which would be a poor sampling station. Is exposed to the elements. It's a possible unknown source. It's not known. It's not taken directly from the main, and there could be splash up from the ground for such a sample. Now, collecting samples for the lab. And this is really just an overview, and you will see in the videos that you will view for this lesson, there's some great AWWA videos that show, I think, most of what we're going to look at in the next couple of slides. So, to collect samples, you would open the faucet for 2 to 3 minutes with no splashing, and make sure you have the correct sample bottle type. You want to label your sample bottles to identify. Often the bottles that you get from the lab will already have labels that you just need to fill in. You need to respect the holding times for each of the different kinds of samples and the different kinds of bottles, and complete that chain of custody form and deliver that to the lab as soon as possible. Now, here's some tips for collecting samples using a VOC, volatile organic compound vial. You want to watch out for air bubbles. You do not, this is the one where you have the sort of a bubble over the top, and you make sure there's no air in that at all. You want to have some field blanks, and you do not want to rinse the preservatives that are there. Now, how to do a BACT sample. You want to keep it clean, and you want to have the sodium thiosulfate in that bottle which is there to neutralize the chlorine present in the water. And as we talked about before, some measurements need to be taken in the field, like chlorine, temp, pH, and weather conditions. And these things are required on the chain of custody form, so you want to make sure you pay attention to those in the field and not have to get to the lab and go, oops, I forgot to do the pH. So now, if you find out that you do have total coliforms present, you need to call the State Department of Health, Public Health, and repeat samples must be collected within 24 hours of notification of a positive routine sample. And now the number of repeat samples required would be, for systems taking 1 or less routine per month, would be 4 repeats, and systems taking 2 or more routine samples per month would be 3 repeat samples. Now the repeat sample locations, there needs to be one from the original tap where the positive sample was, and then you need to do one within the 5 upstream connections and one within the 5 downstream connections. And if 4 repeats are required, you need to take one from another location in the system, preferably at the source water coming into the system. So this here on the repeat samples, this is very important to the activity that you're going to be doing on completing a chain of custody. It's exactly what's in the scenario, basically, that there has been a positive sample, and how would you do the follow-up or the repeat samples, and then you'll get to represent that on the chain of custody plans, or forms, excuse me. Now, on the repeat sampling results, if all the repeat samples are coliform negative, then your problem is resolved. But remember, at least 5 routine samples must be collected during the month following a positive sample. So that increases your usual number of monthly samples to 5 after 1 repeat. And if any of the repeat samples are coliform positive, the system violates the total coliform MCL, and corrective action and public notice is required. And you'll see in Santa Rosa's sampling plan, they do have the public notice information. And a note here, the MCL for systems collecting 40 or more routine samples per month is 5% of samples collected. So, a chain of custody form. What is its purpose? The purpose is to make sure that whoever touches that, the recording or the documentation of whoever has touched that sample in the chain of getting it from collection to the lab is documented, so that you just have more security in knowing who did it. What to fill in, I don't have the form here. But if you look, I think on the page where the assignment is, there's a link to a site that has a sample form filled in. I will check on that and make sure there is one there. But it's hard to talk about it without having the form in front of us, so there you go. And the same thing for the who gets a copy. That will be shown on the form, the sample form that you will download and fill in. So here you are. I did actually have it record. I didn't think this slide was here. Anyway, so here you'll see sampled by. This is the person, the sampler's signature, the time, the sample description, the type of sample, and there's usually a key down here at the bottom, that shows what type of sample it is. And then here's your field measurements. You've got your pH, temperature, chlorine residual, And let's see what else. Up here it lists who you want the data, the test results to go to. Okay, so that should be enough to let you fill out the activity on with a positive BACT sample that needs repeat sampling. So let me know if you have questions. This slide right here, it's basically saying that if the Department of Public Health does not recognize the water system name or the water system ID is wrong, the system will not receive credit for that sampling. So you need to make sure that you have accurate data, the ID number, system ID number, on that. And I think that's the system ID number right there. I'm sorry, this is really small. But you'll be able to see it better once you download and look at the one that's up on the website. So that's the end of this session, part 2 of water sampling. Please get to me with any questions that you have on the assignments, and I'll see you through the week in the forums. Thanks. Have a good one.